Hello, everyone. Welcome into episode 109 of the Stomp the Bus Show. I'm your host, Mark Harris. And the Big 12 champion, Arizona State Sun Devils, know who their opponent will be in the Peach Bowl. In fact, it'll be the 2023 Big 12 champion, the Texas Longhorns. Texas is favored. They're opened as a 13.5-point favorite on ESPN. It's showing they're now down to a 12.5-point favorite. So some money coming in on ASU, but this is a really tough matchup for the Sun Devils. There's no way around it. Texas is talented. They have multiple playmakers on offense. Their defense is loaded. They have a great defensive line, good linebackers, good safeties, corners. This is probably one of the better Texas football teams of all time. Honestly, maybe top 10. Not as good as the teams in the mid to late 2000s, and I'm sure there's some others from years past, but this is a very good Texas team, and it's going to be an incredibly tough challenge. So I think everything I've seen from the Sun Devils is they're kind of leaning into the disrespect role. I saw Xavier Guillory today, Saturday the 28th, talk about how ASU was picked as like the worst ever college football playoff team. People are counting them out. And, mentioned the time that ESPN put the U of A logo on the screen and not the ASU logo. So they're leaning into it. They are leaning into the underdog role, and there's really no other way they can go about it because they are the clear underdog in this. It's going to be a tough challenge to beat Texas. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They, on a player by player basis, they have just had better players. And that's not a slight to the guys on, the ASU team, but from a, player-by-player basis, Texas is just a better team. So that's a huge challenge for ASU, obviously. Now, I will say, of the 4 first-round college football playoff games, Texas was the only winner that did not win in blowout fashion. Now, they were up 28-10 at half over Clemson, but then go on to win 38-24. And at one point, Clemson had a goal, 4th and 1 on the goal line to make it a 1-score game. So I think that game was kind of an encapsulation of what Texas has been this year. Very good, very talented. You can see, that Jaden Blue 77-yard run, ASU has to stop the run in this game. But very talented, very, well coached. But then you look up and the score isn't quite as dominant as you might think. And I think that kind of theme is something that ASU, you just don't want to keep this ASU team in the game. They're playing with confidence. They might still have the best player on the field in Skattebo. And I am very excited. Honestly, this is sappy. This is a really sappy opinion, but with this game, I'm just excited to watch Cam Skattebo play again, man, for the last time. Because I'll be down in Atlanta for the game, and maybe he doesn't have a good game, and maybe Texas really bottles him up. But I think no matter what, he's going to have some good big plays in this game, and even if he gets limited in the run game, that Dillingham and Arroyo will find ways to include him in the passing game, and so I'm just excited to watch him. And just as a fan of football, just him going up against some of those guys on Texas is just going to be really fun to watch. And so you have Sam Levitt, who is, I've read, there's an Associated Press article about him. There's one on ASU.com by Scott Bordeaux that got published yesterday. I think is really good. This dude just is a baller, and the thing that sticks out is this dude is a competitive MFer. And he lives by it. This isn't just lip service. This dude, he's got, all the quarterbacks written down ahead of him who are ranked higher than him. He said today in press conference that he wants to go out and show that he's better than Quinn Ewers, which, by the way, I think he is better than Quinn Ewers, regardless of what happens in this game, right? Unless he, throws 3 picks or something and looks terrible, then I don't know. I'd still rather have Sam Levitt than Quinn Ewers at this point. And one of their lines was Anthony Hill talking about Levitt and how he's like sneaky speed or whatever. I think the one thing is like with Levitt, like you think, I mean, Iowa State learned this. You think you've got him and he slips away. He's got that extra burst, that extra juice, and he's got the speed to make plays happen and extend drives. And if ASU is going to win this game, they're going to need a few, they're going to need Levitt to make some plays with his legs, and he has that capability too. And so, I go back to the Utah game where he avoided some sacks just by running around and just running to the corner. I think this guy, I think he'll be able to make a few plays. Like I don't think he'll look out of place athletically in this game. So I'm just really excited for that. And the one reason I think that ASU can hang around in this game is that when you look at the box score against Clemson, the Tigers could not run the ball. Phil Moffitt, their best running back, 2 carries, 9 yards, had like a shoulder injury, couldn't really play. Their leading carrier was a wide receiver, 4 carries, 44 yards, and one of those was a 41-yard run. So you look at it that way, and it's like, ASU just has a better traditional running game than Clemson does. Skattebo, Kyson Brown. I wonder if Rayleigh Brown will play. That would be an interesting little wrinkle if they had him out there. And I mean, one of the themes this whole year has been ASU's offensive line has just kind of been really steady and solid. And I don't think they're going to, push around the Texas defensive line. Texas defensive line is too good for that. But I think they'll be able to hold their own. And I think they'll be able to give Levitt some time. I think they'll be able to create some holes in the run game. I think Leif Fautanu will likely go to the NFL. Ben Coleman will likely, I imagine that he will be an NFL player in the 2026 draft. And then Max Iheanacho, he's just gotten better and better this whole year, and he's a great run blocker. So it's going to be a challenge. They're not going to win every rep. They're not going to win every down. But I think the offensive line will be able to hold its own. Now, the defensive line against Texas's offensive line, that's the area that worries me the most. I think our linebackers are going to need to play incredible games and not make mistakes, which easier said than done against a good play caller like Sark. I think a guy like Caleb McCullough needs to have a huge game. Keyshawn Elliott as well. I think they have what it takes. These are good linebackers. Jordan Crook is a fast player. Zyrus Fiaseu has been been a good contributor. So especially with Shamari Simmons out for the first half, they're going to need those linebackers to step up. And, if they aren't giving up big plays, if they can limit big plays, which they've kind of done this, that's kind of been the theme for this team this whole year is they've limited big plays. When Iowa State scored that first touchdown in the Big 12 championship game, obviously it sucks to have them go right down the field and score, but it wasn't big plays. It was, just like drives that were in rhythm. So that's going to be important because Texas does have big play capability. They have, in their last game, they had 2 rushers for 110 yards or more. Jaden Blue had 14 for 146 and that 77-yard touchdown. Quintrevion Wisner had 15 carries for 110. So, it's going to be tough. They have a really good wide receiver in Matthew Golden, who had a 43-yard catch in the last game. Gunnar Helms, their tight end, he's going to be all over the place in the middle of the field. So this is going to be a tough challenge. Like, there's no way around it. Texas has some really good players, but I think will be up to the task in the sense that they'll make Texas work for it. It's not going to be like I really don't see a way that ASU holds Texas like below 24 points. I just don't really, I don't know how that's going to happen. But you never know. Get a few well-timed blitzes, confuse Ewers, and anything can happen. As much as those early games were uncompetitive, you still got to play the games for a reason, And I'll say, like, there is with all this stuff, positive things I'm saying about ASU, like, I'm clear-eyed going into this game that we could get blown out. It is on the table. And if you're a fan, I just think you just have to acknowledge that in your head before going into this game, because Texas is a favorite for a reason. So this could get ugly for ASU. It really could. But even if it does, this is still a much better reality than the alternative of we could be playing in the Pop-Tarts Bowl right now, and that would be fun, and you'd be playing a ranked team, but like, you'd rather be in the Peach Bowl, man. You'd rather be in the College Football Playoff Bowl. You'd rather be in the Fiesta Bowl, but that's a different story. So anyway, it's just a great opportunity for the program. And I will say, I think ASU is going to lose. I have it as 31-20 Texas. I think it'll be kind of a competitive game, but I just think Texas will be able to win on a down-by-down basis more often, and over the course of the game, that'll lead to them winning the game 31-20. But if ASU does win this game, if they do, it would be just enormous. Just even if they, in this hypothetical, they win this game and get blown out in the next round against the Ohio State-Oregon winner, it doesn't matter. Like, it would be such a big step for the program. It would be a huge step for the Big 12. And I think there's a ton of Big 12 fans and just Texas haters in general rooting on the Sun Devils. So that'll be a fun little storyline. But they don't really, everything I've seen is they're just having this game be about themselves. And that's the way to do it. So it'll be tough. I saw a tweet from Bud Elliott from the Cover 3 podcast. This was after the Texas game. Basically, like, has ASU played all year? All of the defensive linemen it's played, has it played a defensive line? I don't know how he put it. Like, has it played a group of linemen throughout the course of the year as good as Texas's defensive line? And I think the answer is yeah, they probably have, when you throw in Utah, BYU, Kansas State, Iowa State. I think just by playing those 4 teams, you will have played a defensive, like, good enough defensive lineman throughout those games. But his point remains that, like, this is a huge, these are really good defensive linemen, right? Like, it's just going to be tough they're not going to be able to run the ball at will like they have in some games. Skattebo will have some good plays, but he's not going to dominate the way he has in some games. So it's going to be tricky. It's going to require Leavitt, evading pressure, breaking free from some sacks, picking up yards with his legs. So again, this is a huge challenge, and I'm just excited. Honestly, I'm just excited to watch these guys play one more time. I'm excited to watch Skattebo. I'm excited to watch Caleb McCullough. This could be the last game for Xavier Alford, former Longhorn. He's going to need to have a big game too, stopping big plays. So it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be a challenge. On X, I posted, this is after the game. Let me get it on the screen. Okay. Let me get it on screen. Here we go. Okay. These are just some thoughts I had. Yeah, there we go. These are some thoughts I had right after the game. So, starts out, Texas is going to be a very difficult matchup for ASU. No way around it. Their talent is evident. They will have excuse me. Excuse me. Their talent is evident, and they will have the fan advantage in Atlanta, but they still have flaws and let Clemson get back into the game. The Sun Devils will certainly have their work cut out for them. This is another tweet from Liam Blutman, Barstool guy. A&M and Clemson played bozo ball against Texas in and goal situations. This was talking about when Clemson was down 38-24. They were at the goal line to make it 31-38, one-score game with about like 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And they just ran it right up the middle. And even with Skattebo, this coaching staff has to be very careful when they just run it right into the teeth of the Texas defense, because, we can say like, oh, like this is how it's worked against other teams and all this, but like this is a different beast. And Iowa State, I don't think you should do the Skattebo like wildcat formation in this game, or if you do, use it very sparingly and maybe have a trick play element to it, right? Like, I just don't think you can try to play man ball and just like out physical Texas on the line of scrimmage. I don't think that's going to work. So I would almost rather just have a bootleg with Levitt, and either he throws it, maybe he makes a play, dives toward the pylon, whatever it may be. And again, that's not to say ASU should never run it up the middle, because they should, but on the goal line, like, I don't think that's advantageous for ASU or really most teams in the country. So that's something to consider. So this was right after the game. Negatives for ASU in the Peach Bowl. Texas has superior roster talent and depth. This cannot be ignored. I 100% agree with that statement. I had a friend text me like, oh, like I'm going to expect this team to win because of how they've played all year. And, they deserve that trust. And I understand that point. But again, ASU this year has not played a team of Texas's caliber. It just hasn't. So that's all well and good to be, like, oh, this team has the leadership. This team has built up trust, and they've done it before, and that's all great. But again, this is a different level of competition. So I don't think you can just have that mindset going into this game as a fan. That's just me. You be a fan how you want to be a fan. But that's just how I'm looking at it. And then more experience in playoff games. They had a playoff game, earlier this month, and they played in the playoff last year and against Washington. So they're used to this stage. This is their second time this year in the Mercedes-Benz Dome. I almost called it the Georgia Dome. So Texas, again, they're going to be a tough challenge, undoubtedly. Positives for ASU. ASU has a better run game than Clemson. Yeah, that's not me being a fan. That's not me being a homer. They just 100% do have a better run game than Clemson. It's undeniable. ASU's run defense has been good throughout the season. This is also something that we have to acknowledge. In terms of big runs, the only game, there was a guy from Cincinnati at that game at Cincinnati who had a 55-yard run against ASU in that first half. And that came on a blitz where basically like it was just the perfect time run play for that blitz, because it got the guy just into wide open space and he housed it from there. So that was bad, but it sticks. It goes to the point of like ASU mostly hasn't given up huge runs this year. They gave up one to Giddens against K-State, but that was also when they were trying to protect a lead. So that is some context for that. U of A didn't really have any big runs. Iowa State, not really. BYU, not really. They kind of shut down BYU. And I don't know, like BYU's offensive line is not as good as Texas's offensive line, but that's still a good, older guys. BYU usually has pretty good offensive lines, and they didn't have any issue with that. Kansas State. Now, RJ Harvey did really do well against them, but he never had any like super long runs. It was like a good amount of like 7-yard runs and 15-yard runs. So that is something to consider. However, that game was almost 2 months ago, the UCF game, and ASU just didn't play that well in that game. So like, I don't know, like that if they play like they did against UCF, then they're going to lose this game. There's no way around it. But ASU's run defense has been pretty good this year. And then, like I mentioned earlier, ASU can just continue to play the underdog card. It's a clearly, I'd say a galvanizing force for them, but it's just at this point, it's just how they're being viewed. So I want to talk about, okay, this is offense. Let's just go to net. EPA per play on College Football Insiders. This is kind of the advanced metric I go to. And they have Texas as the second best overall team. So, again, ASU has this work cut out for it. Now, they had Alabama as the third best team. And that Alabama's clearly not the third best team in the country. So it's not a one-to-one, it's not a end-all be-all, right? Again, Ole Miss, number 6. Miami, 7. Are you kidding me? Miami's not the 7th best team. But the point being is, like, this is how, through EPA per play, this is how it looks. So, they have Texas as the second team. ASU's 13. ASU's right up there. And you put the second best team and the 13th best team in the country on the same field. The second best team probably wins 80% of the time, but that still means it's within the realm of possibility that ASU can win. Now, if we're going to defense, ASU's overall defensive rank is 18th. Not bad, not fantastic. Texas is 3rd. Rush rank defense. I hate how it goes all the way to the bottom. Okay. Rush rank, Texas is 7th. Arizona State 16th. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good place to be. Let's see where Clemson all the way down at 24th. Apparently, I saw this it was Max Chadwick from PFF College, is that Clemson was uniquely bad against outside zone runs. And that's what Texas got them on that 77-yard play to Blue that kind of iced the game. So again, like, I can accept ASU giving up some rushing yards, like it's going to happen, but they cannot give up the home run plays. Like, you need to make Quinn Ewers beat you. That's the thing with this game. And if he beats you, go ahead. Like, for as much of, the doubt around Quinn Ewers, he will be an NFL quarterback. He may not be a starter in the NFL, but he will be an NFL quarterback at some point. So you got to make him hurried. Brian Ward's got to confuse him, which I think he will. And, another thing, like, Texas has a few days, 10 days rest going into this game. But having to play a more competitive game against Clemson, I believe their right tackle went down in that game. I think they had a few other injuries. So maybe Texas doesn't come into this game at 100% full steam, but that could be a slight advantage for ASU. And based on the way they've been practicing this week, it seems like they're ready to go for the game. And another thing is, every time this team has had a bye, they've come out after the bye looking better than they did before. So let's just start the year, right? The beginning of the year, they hadn't played for a bit. They play a Wyoming team that a lot of people thought could, ugly up the game, make it close. ASU destroys them, wipes them off the field. And they look great in that game. That was one of their better overall games of the year. And then you go to their next bye after the Texas Tech loss, have a bye at home against Kansas. The defense had some issues in that game, but the offense looked great. And it was Sam Levitt's probably his first really good game of the year, and he looked in much more control of the offense. You could see the improvement. And then you have Kansas game, Utah game, Cincinnati game, bye. Then at Oklahoma State, they destroyed them. Now, granted, that was a below-average Oklahoma State team, not a very good team. But they made them look like a bad team. So it is that is one kind of consistent theme with this staff, is that they've looked good after byes. In fact, last year, at the game at Washington, which they almost won, probably should have won, that was after a bye. Defense looked very fresh. So if you can get a defense that's been flying around, and one thing with this defense is they've played physical all year. So I don't think, I think there could be a few moments in this game where, Rouser lights someone up, or there's a, fight makes a tackle in the backfield, whatever it may be. I don't think that's going to be a situation where they just completely get pushed around the whole game, even though that could be the theme of the game. But it's just something to consider with how they played after byes going into this game. So, I'm excited. I was a little bit more nervous about this game, but now that you just look at it, like ASU is totally playing with house money, totally playing with house money. So much of there's been some dismissive coverage about this team. I saw Tom Fornelli, who I like, and he would kind of was doing just kind of an overview of all the 8 teams left, and he said ASU's strength was winning close games. And there is some truth in that, but I mean, with how they played at the end of the year, it wasn't a close game against Iowa State. They blew them off the field. They destroyed Arizona, whatever. The BYU game, like, there were multiple instances in which Dillingham passed up short field goals, and also just the stupid backing up thing. Like, that game could have easily been a 2-score game by the end. That could have been 35-23 if they just gave it to Skattebo on the down in the low red zone or whatever. And so sure, that game wasn't the game on the final score was close, but it took a lot of self-inflicted coaching errors to even get to that point. And then at K-State, they were up 24-0 at one point. Yeah, they had to hold on to win, but when you getting up 24-0 is a good place to be still. So this is a team that has been up by 3 touchdowns at one point in each of the last 4 games. So you can say, oh, they're winning close games. Like the team in the early part of the year was for sure. Like that was the story of this team. But it's clear that this team, is at the end of the year is way better than it was early on in the year. There is no doubt about that, right? Levitt looks a lot better. And so, again, this is still going to be an incredibly tough game. Like, Texas is good. I think they're the odds-on favorite to win the national championship, which I don't believe that. I think the national championship winner will come out of the Ohio State-Oregon game. I think those are the 2 best teams. I don't trust Georgia without their quarterback. I think Penn State is a dark horse. But I don't think that Boise State game is just going to be a cakewalk for them either. So we'll see how that goes. And then Notre Dame, I just think they're too one-dimensional on offense. But yeah, I mean, this will be a huge challenge. ASU will be outnumbered in the crowd. I think there will be a good amount of ASU fans there, but I mean, it's way closer to Austin, way closer to Texas in general, and Texas is just a way bigger brand with more fans in general. So would have been nice to play Clemson. And I'll say this, like, Clemson at least exposed some weaknesses in the Texas defense, right? Like, I would rather play Texas than Ohio State after what Ohio State looked like in their first round game. Ohio State looked like dominant from start to finish. Texas State just looked dominant in the first half and really for stretches of the first half. And by the way, Ewers threw what was very close to being, it was a pick 6 on the field, and then they negated it for a blindside block. But like that was a bang call. That's the call that doesn't get made all the time. Not saying it was the wrong call or a bad call, but it's one of those, like, could go either way. That could have changed the whole trajectory of that game. It would have been 21-14 at that point. And so there is a path to victory for ASU. It's narrow. It's not, it's not likely, but no, I'm excited for this game. And no matter what happens, like, this is still such an incredible year for this team. You're seeing it in the transfer portal. I'm not going to go through every guy that they've got, but you got the tight end Kamari Anderson from Kentucky, the safety Adrian Wilson. Can never have enough Adrian Wilsons in Arizona, from Washington State. There's guys I'm forgetting. And you're bringing back most of your relevant talent, right? Levitt and Tyson haven't officially announced that they're coming back, but I mean, it sure looks like they're going to come back. And eventually the portal is closing pretty soon anyway. So it seems extremely unlikely that they're going to leave. And then basically all the defense is coming back, right? All the offensive line, a bunch of guys that are backups right now are coming back, which is so big. Jalen Clem, who's supposed to be a big part of this team, he's coming back, and that's a really big deal for next year because he's got some talent, he's got some size, and so that's a big way to bring him back. You're getting Terrell Kim back, and he'll probably be a starting guard at some point. Sean Na'a, this offensive line, is in good shape for the next year at least. So that's in a good spot. Getting the running back Kanye Udo from Army would have been great to get Deuce Robinson, but it seems like there's a decent chance the Branch brothers come here. The fact that you have ASU player personnel guy DeAndre Cooper retweeting Zachariah Branch, I don't know, seems like a good sign to me. So, and you have Rayleigh Brown like advocating for ASU. So this team's playing confident. It's going to be a tough challenge. I don't expect them to win, but I expect them to make it interesting at least. And I think an interesting player that few people on the outside are going to be focusing in on, I think it's Malik McClain for ASU. Now, he didn't really contribute to this team in the regular season. He only contributed in the Big 12 championship game without one catch, but they're going to need him, right? With no Tyson, Guillory and Stovall, for as good as they are, I wouldn't call them difference makers. No, maybe Guillory could have some good moments in this game, though. He's a great contested catch guy, as we saw in the Big 12 championship game. Good on deep balls. So if they scheme some stuff up, I could see Guillory hurting them. But they're going to need Malik McClain to play well. Going to need Shimon Mateer to play well. Apparently, he's been looking great at practice. Just such an underrated addition to this team has been Mateer. Him and Levitt have a good connection in the red zone, so hopefully that shows up. Kyson Brown out of the backfield will be important. Again, if Rayleigh Brown plays, that would be great. And we've seen the video of Tyson and Levitt dunking in the practice facility. Still, there's no indication that Tyson's going to play, and that's sad. It would be great to see Tyson in this game because he can burn anyone. Like I'm not worried about the step up in competition if it's Jordan Tyson. Like that dude's a baller, but doesn't look like he'll play in this game, which is unfortunate. But this team, I like they've earned the trust in that. I expect them to put together a competent performance in this game. And so, yeah, it's just a good place to be as fans. Like last year at this time in the portal, you lose Conyers, you lose BJ Green, you lose Jordan Clark in the first window. There's probably a few other guys I'm forgetting. This year, who's the best player we've lost? Marquiston Douglas so far. And you'd love to have him, but he's your backup tight end. Kamari Wilson, backup safety. But again, these guys are both going to play in this game too, which I love Dillingham having that open viewpoint about it instead of being so rigid. So it's just, I think this will be just an interesting game. And while I do think ASU loses, I think they will have a decent showing at least. And I could be wrong, but this team is just solid. This team, it's not like there's all these like this huge gaping like, oh, what are they going to do about this? That's what people thought it would be our pass defense. But that didn't really come to roost against Iowa State, and they might have two better receivers than Texas does, and potentially a better quarterback than Texas does too. So it's not, nothing is guaranteed. And by the way, like one factor in those games being blowouts last week was that they were all home games for the other team, and 3 of the 4 were in cold weather. So this will not be the case. It's still going to be a neutral site game, going to be on fast track. So should be interesting. And yeah, I'm just excited to watch Skattebo again, excited to watch these guys again, and glad the season is ending in this type of fashion. And maybe it will continue, who knows, but it's good that this program is at this point. And even if it means a potential blowout loss to Texas, like this is still such an accomplishment. And I'm just excited to watch these guys play again. So go Devils. We'll see how it goes. I think there's going to be some fun and interesting moments in this game, if nothing else. And ASU has a chance. ASU has a puncher's chance in this game. I don't think this will be the biggest blowout of the tournament. So it's a good place to be. Don't really have too much else to add. ASU basketball was able to beat UMass, which is good. They finish the regular season. They finish non-conference at 9-2, entering Big 12 play. They're on the road at BYU to start Big 12 basketball on the 31st. Are they on the road? It's whatever. But it's a good place to be for the basketball program too, because you don't want to go into Big 12 play treading water and trying to make up ground like you have in some years in the Pac-12. Let's see, are they at BYU or are they hosting BYU? They are at BYU on the 31st. Oh, during the day. So that's should be a fun little game to get started. And yeah, good times for Sun Devil Athletics as we close out the 2024 year. I mean, if we look at it that way, like we're in just a complete different position. The basketball team last year at this time just got destroyed by Northwestern. And I remember being on a Twitter Spaces and Kyle Dodd was talking, and he's just because there was just nothing to feel good about really. And his point was like, all we have, what we have is each other. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is sad that we're at this point where we're just like, hey, at least we have each other, And now it's like, hey, we're in the college football playoff. Basketball team looks like it's going to be going to the tournament. The hockey team is playing better. Women's volleyball won the Big 12 in its first year. You have two of your fall sports, two of them won the league in their first year. How great is that? So that's right. Got the shirts printed. It's just, this is awesome to be in. So go Devils. I have them losing this game 31-20, but I think we'll have a good show. And Colton and I picked them to go 5-7 this year. Colton picked them to go 6-6. Like I've picked them to lose games that they've won. And they've just proved everyone wrong. So let's hope they can do it one more time in Atlanta. All right. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe on YouTube, rate and review on your podcast platform of choice. Follow the College Huddle. They've been doing great work. A lot of good fan podcasts out there. And as always, go Sun Devils, baby.